and welcome. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for joining yet another edition of our weekly program, and which focuses on current affairs in the polity. And it is our 64th edition. 64th. We give God all the glory. It's been a long, long time, and even though we're on 64, we've actually had a few weeks where we just go on break, just giving everybody a bit of break so everybody can recharge their batteries. And yet we're the 64th edition. And to the glory of God, we've hosted the who's who in when it comes to trying to build a new Nigeria. Those who matter, those with hosted people from the from the educational sector. We've hosted activists. We've hosted captains of industries. We've hosted quite a lot, and in fact, once or twice we've had a few clergies as well, just so we get a very good perspective on everything across the divide, in all areas. And it's just been a very fantastic time. And it is my pleasure to welcome us again this evening to this wonderful program. And tonight, one of Nigeria's most highly respected activists, one of those who have not sold their names, who have not put their hands in the quote and unquote the cookie jar, someone who has actually labored for the struggle. It is very fashionable to hear people like Asiwaju Bola Tinubu say, well, Nadeko, he went through a lot and all things. But our special guest today is someone who was actually in the trenches at the same time as people like that were in the trenches. Recently, we heard about the unfortunate death of Red Bera Ndubisi Kanu, who was a very huge hero of the struggle against military rule during the Abacha and Babangida eras. And yet, some of them, you hear more about them than others. But you know what? Our special guest for today, I repeat again, is actually one who was in the trenches. When you mention all those names, it is very, very right to mention his own name as well in the same breath. And tonight, before I introduce him, we're going to be, or let me just introduce him first. So basically, our special guest for today is no other, is a civil rights activist and a good governance advocate who has been, like I said earlier, who has been in the trenches since the brutal military juntas of Generals Ibrahim Babangida and late Sani Abacha. He, along with other pro-democracy inclined citizens and groups, mobilized the Nigerian people through civilized means that sought the exit of the military government in 1999, and of course the advent of civilian rule. He has been the General Secretary of June 12 Coalition of Democratic Formations since 2007 till date, and he is the Executive Chairman of the Committee for the Protection of People's Mandates, which is PPM, among several other human rights organizations, too numerous to mention. He's a lover of sports, politics, and public interest issues. He's a public issue analyst on radio and TV stations. He's an avowed writer and lecturer. He's a media consultant and manager and into organizational management. He is a family man, happily married to one wife and has 3 children. I like this bit about his bio, So, and in any case, many of you would have seen this face. Apart from he was there with us many weeks back. But beyond the platform for liberty and democracy, many of you would have seen this face again and again and again on mainly channels, television, and a few other stations around, and some other television stations around the country. So many of you will be familiar with this face. And of course, in the last week, in the last few days, I think I also saw a picture in the print media at the burial of Rear Admiral Ndubisi Kanu. Of course, that's natural. You would be expecting him to be there because they all fought together in the struggle to enthrone democracy in Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome this evening our special speaker for today, Comrade Sani Ekujumi. You're welcome, sir. If you just unmute yourself and just say hello, then we introduce the topic. You're muted currently, sir. Okay. Good evening, yeah. Good evening, sir. Good evening, sir.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
Thank you so much, comrade. It's a pleasure having you here. And today we'll be discussing of course, it is a contemporary topic. It is a contemporary issue. And you know what? I love this background I've got. It says a new Nigeria, you know, and with implied, we say possible replied. And yet we are talking about the Nigerian new media bill. Of course, all of us are familiar with the things that happen in fact, in any case, it's going to be, thank you so much, Mr. Adekoju. It's going to be another exactly 1 year since the EndSARS protests of last year. Government, some aspects, some elements in government tried to term it an insurrection, but we know it's not an insurrection. It was a protest. Yes, it was hijacked in many places by unscrupulous elements, but the intentions, original intents were noble. It was for the disbandment of the brutal special anti-robbery squad, you know, which of course has been disbanded. You know, now the issues. Of course, that brought so many things. The fact that the organizers of the protests were able to essentially leverage on the power of social media, of Twitter, of Instagram, so many TikTok, Snapchat, but you know, Facebook, but mainly on Twitter, in order to drive that protest and to sustain it. And of course, the government, as a result of that and a few other things, reacting to the campaign for self-determination by the likes of Nnamdi Kanu and Sunday Igboho, and who also have used the Twitter as a powerful tool. And of course, the government has come up to complain several times that the platforms, the various platforms, have actually been an enabler for those who want to and who are already trying to destabilize Nigeria or, you know, threaten its corporate existence. You know, so those have been some of the things. And of course, the many unfounded rumors here and there on social media, which is not peculiar to Nigeria as well. It is one of the peculiarities of the new media, you know, of the social media. You know, so the government came up with the new media bill, of course, which is still in the national, which is not yet part of the law. Of course, some have termed it anti-social media bill, but of course, those who have promoted this bill, mainly they want us to see it as the new media bill or just social media bill. You know, so as part of and I'm happy that we have a friend of ours from a former senior officer of Amnesty International in our midst this evening, in the person of Comrade Bashir Amin. You know, so now the bill, the official name is actually called Protection from Internet Falsehood and Manipulation, and of course the bill of 2019. Among other things, it criminalizes quite a lot of things in terms of what people can put online, what people cannot put online, and of course, it proposes that they, you know, or maybe let's just say, it proposes a prison term of about 3 years, you know, or a fine or both in the case of infractions. You know, and of course, people have said the bill creates vague criminal offenses that cannot technically be quantified, and that, you know, the prisms, PRISMS, the prisms of this law, of this proposed bill, make it such that it can be expanded to, you know what, I just don't like Comrade Ekujumi's face, and tomorrow I can find an excuse just out of the blues to lock him up. And people, of course, are shouting that we need to, that the government must ensure that peaceful criticism and regular criticism of government without fear of retaliation, censorship, or legal sanctions is upheld by the government of the day. These are very, very critical matters, and that is why we have invited you here today. If we're talking of authorities on a matter such as this, you are one of those authorities, Comrade Nelson Ekujumi. Briefly, sir, what is this? Of course, I've tried to go through it a bit, but for those who are joining us online and even on this on the stream, what is this new social media bill? What is it about, and what do you think was the foundation? What do you think gave rise, in the true sense of the word, to this new social media bill? Over to you, sir. Comrade Ekujumi, over to you, sir. Hello, sir.
I hear you properly again.
Oh, hello, comrade. Can you hear me now? I think there's a problem with comrade's network. Hello, comrade. Okay, I think his network has gone down. We're expecting that he will either that gets sorted or he rejoins. Okay, audio has gone off. It doesn't. We'll try to resolve that. But I'm very happy that we've got a panel in house this evening. So we're going to make use of you whilst we expect that comrade's connection is, hopefully we get it sorted today, but if we don't get it sorted, we'll gladly be, we'll be very happy to bring him back again just to have a full discussion on this. But it's a good thing I've got also Comrade Bashir Amin on the line. So I'm going to start with Comrade Bashir Amin whilst we're waiting for Comrade Ekujumi. Bashir Amin, this new media bill, in short, in summary, what is it and what is it about? What is the new media bill? Oh, okay. Comrade, are you back? Comrade Ekujumi, are you back, sir? Okay, let's go with Hello, sir.
I'm back. I can hear you clearly.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. We lost you there for a moment. So now, so this new media bill, sir, I'm just saying, for those who do not, some will probably be even hearing of it for the first time. But in the case of those who are hearing about it for the first time, or even those of us who have read about it since 2019 when it was first mooted, what is it all about, sir? And what do you think actually gave rise to it in the true context of it?
Okay, thank you very much once again. The new social media bill by the 9th Legislative Assembly, if we recollect, this bill had been in existence even in the 8th National Assembly. But be that as it may, the bill arose as a result of the need to check the excesses, the abuse that the social media had been turned into. I know for sure that the social media is supposed to be a medium.
Okay, I'm thinking we've lost Comrade there again. It's such a, it's one of the peculiarities of our nation that you can't even, basic internet connection in order to, at this stage of development, we should still not be talking about it. In terms of the internet backbone, Nigeria should be talking about high-speed services. We should be talking about fiber. We should be talking about 5G in the correct sense of the word. But in many places, even your connection still shows as edge, EDGE in Nigeria, so which is, almost 2G more or less, and that's what we're experiencing this evening. I want to apologize to all our viewers, all those who have joined us. We're trying our very possible best, but our special guest is our special speaker is suffering with very bad internet connection. So let me start with our in-house panel. Mr. Sekjen, in terms of this new media bill, what do you think gave rise to it? What do you think is the real intent of it? What do you think is the end goal? And do you think it is something we need right now, or is something that we should not, that everybody needs to be aware of and to rise up against and say, you know what, we do not want this? Mr. Sekjen, let's come to you first.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Convener. Hope everyone can hear me.
We can hear you.
Okay, yes. Like you said, sir, if we try to analyze the history of our country, and if you try to analyze the role in which media has been playing prominently in the enthronement of democracy, stabilizing democracy in our society, once we agree, and everyone will agree with me, that any law that is going to be clear expression of our interest, clear expression of our opinion, should be publicly condemned. And it's quite unfortunate at this time, sir, that a government that came to power utilizing the instrumentality of media, and a government who also understand the power of propaganda, because when we're talking of media, in some way, somehow, we cannot differentiate or publicly or totally dissociate propaganda from media. So far that many of us are of the knowledge that propaganda is not a positive arm of the media. But no matter the case, we all knew how this government came into power. We all knew the role the media pivotally played in their enthronement to authority and power. So it is unheard of that this same set of government should be the one sponsoring a bill that directly or indirectly is going to silence the free expression of people's interests. And none of us are quite unaware of the different motive and action of the government, particularly the recent ban of Twitter, which invariably have now been reinstated by the government. A ways in which we've heard in one time or the other that the government came with, a policy or probably a law saying that which we termed as hate speech. So there has been different perspective. There has been different reaction from the government to all kind, the free expression of people's interests and people's rights. And I want to say unequivocally that such kind of motive, such kind of reaction should be publicly condemned by well-meaning Nigeria, because at this time and season, in which some other developed nation of the world are looking at a way in which they are going to embrace free expression of interest, free expression of opinion, in looking at the way in which media could be better enhanced for development of a community, of a polity as a nation. This is not a time in which you should have policies that is going to be anti-people. This is not a time as a nation that we need a policy that is going to be to cow the interest and free expression of people's rights. This is not a time as a nation in which a government is going to use everything within the instrumentality of power and authority in kind of trying to bury people's interests and people's expression of right. So without missing words, Mr. Convener, to all our listeners listening out there, I think at this time, it is normal, it is fundamental, it is legal for us as citizens, for us as a people, in rising against any motive or any intention by the government is subverting the free interest and expression of people's rights. Thank you and good evening, everyone. You are muted, Mr. Convener.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sekjen. It's just me trying to. You've actually touched on very, very key things there. Let me check if Comrade Ekujumi is back, so that we go back to him. Otherwise, we just continue and try to make the best of this. You've touched on very key valid points that you've covered one side in terms of the suppression of free speech and the best practices around the globe, where citizens really, when we talk of proper countries and not banana republics, they do allow their citizens to have a say, and governments, there's every citizen has a right to ask questions of its government. It is a fundamental right that no one can and should take away, you know. So, but you've touched on very salient points, and I'm going to. Are we able to get Amin on this, Comrade Bashir Amin? Are we able to get you on this? Can you unmute? Now, what is this bill, Comrade Amin? And what does it mean? Let us put it like that. What is this bill and what does it mean?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Convener. I actually sneak into to listen to, not to be a panelist, but to listen to Ekujumi, being a media consultant that we work together on a daily basis. But thank you for having me here. So I apologize if I'm not able to do justice with the issue. Let's actually take some step back to see why we end up in a situation where we need an anti-social media bill. We are aware that there is a regulatory body for the media, which is the NBC. And that body has some powers to control the electronic media, the print media. So with the advent of the social media, then everybody becomes a journalist. You don't even need to be a member of the National Union of Journalists. So there is no regulation. Everybody can put everything on the social media. Yeah. There are over 23.9 million Nigerians on the social media on a daily basis. So, and all the 29 million people are authors, are broadcasters, are journalists of their own right, and they can put anything on the media. Now, the government seems helpless. So the major problem is the strategy of the government is entirely wrong, because they are coming from a paradigm that everything about the social media is bad. It's not bad. The bill actually is about internet falsehood. That's the name of the bill. It's not actually a social media. They call it internet. So they intend to address fake news. But there's no way you can address fake news on the internet as a solution just by having a law. You need to have technology to do this. You need to have engagement with various social media platforms. You need to set out guidelines. You need to have fake news checks. And because if you now decide to say, okay, that is really not down information that are useful for majority of the people. It is very important this law is there, but there is a contravention. One is that Article 19 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights make clear that we have freedom of expression. Everybody have the right to express themselves on any platform, including the social media. And based on that, there is also the African Commission on Human and People's Rights that gave us that fundamental human right to do so. So this bill negates some of those provisions of those human rights instruments. And for my own personal opinion is the government needs to embark on technology. They need to be 2 steps ahead. They need to be able to identify what is fake news. During some of the work we did in Sierra Leone in the last election, we could see the advantage of social media. Of course, that disadvantage of hate speech, but there are a lot of advantage whereby there is a call for help in terms of violence through WhatsApp. And everybody responded. Even the government responded to that. You know, that look, we are being attacked in so place by these thugs, and that information get to the police quickly, and they are able to respond as quickly as possible. That is one advantage where social media can actually save lives, and that advantage supersedes other things. But there have been a lot of fake news. on the internet. And it's really not difficult to get information whether something is fake or not. If it is just reported by one source, uncredited source, we know it's likely to be fake. But most of the time, we don't even check. I've been on a lot of WhatsApp platforms that fake news are circulated. And this is from people that are educated enough. Even when they say, oh, CNN says something, just to even Google that information plus CNN to check whether it's on CNN's website, we are too lazy to do that. We just circulate, and those fake information start to become real, So these are problems. So there is a need to, of course, fake news need to be addressed, but I'm not sure whether the way to go is just to have a draconian law to address it. There's a lot of awareness raising that we need to do. There's a lot of engagement that needs to be done with the internet providers and the social media platform. So, but law is totally not enough. And it can be a little bit ineffective even. If there is a social media information put out there by somebody in Norway, how is the Nigerian law going to stop that? How is it going to address that? The person is based in Norway. It might even be a Nigerian Norwegian citizen. So how are you going to prosecute that person? When it's not within the geographical domain. So I think even from the National Assembly, they also know how difficult this is going to be, so I really I'm not optimistic that this law will be passed. It has been there since 2015 and it's still there. And any effort to move it forward, we also face stringent agitation. But please note that apart from this law, the security sector of the federal government monitor the social media. Intelligent. I have a department in the duties to monitor security information on the internet. So you have them doing this behind the scene, as part of the requirement of those security sector. And they could actually call anybody to come and answer so having this law as a blanket draconian law, I really don't think is going to help. I really don't think it's going to support the freedom of expression. But I also feel that the government on their own also need to be active on the social media. And that is another problem. Government assume that you need to know what they are doing. And I don't think that is right. They also need to come out to let people know this is what we are doing. Because I'm not being paid to echo what the government are doing. I'm not being paid to do so. I've been accused of that during my days in Amnesty. We launched a report in Liberia, and the Minister of Justice said, why is Amnesty not telling the people what we have been doing? And I went on here to say, we are not employed to do that. We didn't come to look in your country to look at the good news. We look at what you are not doing well in accordance with the obligation that you have signed. So you need to come out and tell your people what you are doing. But the government and media are engaging the people, telling them what they are doing. And when people have these two sides of the story in the presidency, blah, blah, blah. But, nobody came out to say, look, I'm not Jubilee, or that is my father. I know my father, or that is my husband. I know my husband, you can't know him. Then that become like a real story. Because there was no alternative information. And that go on for years and years. And it's so surprising that even people who are educated continue to say that. And I challenge somebody to say, look, this guy just went to a UN meeting. And I know the UN, you are fingerprint. So do you think the UN is not aware? And they will allow an impersonator to come and present himself as the president in the UN and even address the world? These are simple logic. But because we are so to the social media.
Am I right to believe I know Comrade Ekujumi is there, so I just wanted to quickly round up. You know, am I right to believe you're talking about the quote and unquote Jubril of Sudan thing on?
Yeah, definitely. That's what I mean. Yeah,
Jubril
that's
of
what I
Sudan.
mean.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And you have a lot of educated people believing it. And I told somebody, look, Prince Charles just met him. I told you, tell me my five didn't know that that's an impersonator. So to check fake news is not difficult to do, but I don't think they need a law to do it. Thank you. I will allow my comrade to continue.
Thank you so much, Comrade Bashir Amin. It's such a pleasure. You know, you're always a class act, you know. So for those who don't know, we're having Comrade Amin himself. We're having him in 2 weeks' time, you know. So that's been prearranged ages ago, you know. So, today, we're going to, I believe that Comrade Ekujumi's connection is now perfectly back. You're welcome back, sir. You know, if it means having to repeat this session with you, so long as you can make out the times, I will gladly do it, because we've had already a few complaints on social media. Network is bad, and so in one of the posts I've just put there, that's one of the problems in Nigeria that we all have to come together to solve. So, Comrade Ekujumi, you already heard what your friend Comrade Bashir Amin did say about this new media bill. Our SecGen, when he gave his perspective on it, talked about the suppression of free speech and the need to resist the bill. Now, Comrade Bashir Amin has come out with another angle about the kind of things on social media in terms of course, the Jubril al-Sudani quote and unquote project, you know, where even the elites, you know, people that you believe should know better. And of course, one of Nigeria's most prominent bishops, you know, actually continually preached about it on his pulpit as well, that, you know, the man in Aso Rock is an import from Sudan who has been cloned, you know, to sit there, like, because the real president was true and true dead and buried. So these are two angles of this thing. So let us come to you, sir, and just let you take the floor for at least 20-30 minutes as you please, sir, to educate us about this bill, about the foundation of it, about the real cause of it. Should we be afraid of it? Should we be happy about it? You know, over to you, Comrade Ekujumi.
Okay, thank you very much once again for having me. And I want to appreciate my comrade brother, Bashir Ayodele Amin, for coming to my rescue when the took me out. He's somebody I trust in his capability, and listening to him for just a few minutes when I came back on air, I could, you know, decipher what he has said, and, you know, I totally align with him. But I have a little cause for disagreement, and that is that, one, this bill came as a result of the recklessness, of the abuse that the social media has been turned into. You and I know for sure that the social media, just like the conventional media, is meant to educate, inform, and, you know, entertain users. But unfortunately, in our climate, just like not only in Nigeria, the social media has become a weapon for hate speech, for incitement, for divisiveness. And for me, this is unacceptable in any society. And I think this must have been what propelled the initiators of this bill. But whether they have done it the right way or the wrong way is something that we can, you know, talk on. And that is why the bill till date has been generating comments.
Wow, comrades network has gone kaput again. You're almost starting to think that is there some kind of sabotage somewhere, you know, because this is really, really critical, especially as we go into this week where people start marking the anniversary of these NSAS protests and everything. There's a need to actually, you know, delve into this bill, to dissect it, you know, and have a proper view of it. That's why I'm like, of course, that's on a lighter note, but you're almost wondering, is there sabotage here? Because the last time we had Comrade Ekujumi here, the network was very, very clear all through. But that is fine. I'm sure it will be back. Now I'm going to go. I've already seen a few comments here and there on the platform, and I'm going to be allowing those who have been making comments. Let's go to Comrade Okunuga. I've seen a few comments from you here. In just about 30 minutes, what are your thoughts really about this bill? Of course, I'm going to come to you, Ms. Adepojo, and quite a few of you that are making comments there. But Comrade Okunuga, let me come to you. What are your thoughts about this bill?
Good evening, sir. Good evening, sir. Good evening, ma. Congratulations once again on the assumption of your new age, the convener.
Thank you so much.
I was unable to properly wish you on that day because of the network.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Back to the discussion. I feel that the new media, the space actually needs to be regulated, in my opinion. And I think I have to be frank about it. You know, we have come to a point that it is expedient for us to actually nail it as it is. It is very, very true that our governments, not this one only, but our governments successively have not been sincere about the rulership of this country. It is also a fact that the freedom of information that Nigerians have enjoyed over the years has helped, to an extent, in this whole thing. Else, these people may have perhaps turned this country into a country that foreigners will not even want to enter again. But come to look at it, the new media, to me, in my opinion, has not, there is a damage. There's a damage that the excessive freedom, or that the freedom without limits, without brackets, that Nigerians enjoy, have continued to cause on our nation, even in the face of foreigners. In my assessment, Nigeria today appears to be one, if not in the first two, but definitely to be in the first three of the most ridiculed country, even in Africa. No country in Africa appears to respect us again. Not only because we have bad leadership, there are bad leaderships also elsewhere. Even in developed communities, there are bad leadership, there are draconian leaderships everywhere. But the image that even Nigerians continue to portray, continue the light or the bad light, the bad message that Nigerians continue to pass about Nigeria, even before the international community is ridiculing or has continued to ridicule our nation. How can somebody wake in the morning and say Nigeria is a scam? How can somebody wake in the morning and say Nigeria is a fraud? Is it the country that's a scam, or some leaders who are scams, who are scammers? Is it the country, the entire nation, that has produced, big people, great people, intelligent people, you and I, even people who are here, that is a scam, that is a fraud? Or some set of leaders that in our discretion, we have allowed to continue? Yes, I said in our discretion, because we have options. And for me, if they are not doing well, there is an alternative. The alternative is for us to mobilize and kick them out, and not to continue to insult the integrity, the image of this country, Nigeria. What the new media has contributed to the level of insecurity in this nation is also enormous. The media has not helped, even in terms of the current or the ongoing divisions in our country. We have to blame. The media cannot be exonerated from this. And why? It is because today we now have bloggers who are not trained journalists. Even a major part, or don't let me say a major part, so that I don't abuse my statistical knowledge. But a part of that media, the mainstream media, even some of them have joined the train as a non-trained journalist, and they continue to abuse the entire space. Everyone today wants to be major news breaker, but what kind of news are you breaking? Are those news that will help the unity of this country? Are those news the kinds of news that will help progressive leadership in this country? Are those news that foreigners? There are nations in the world that have regulated their new media space. And I'm saying it emphatically here. It is not only Nigeria. The UAE, for instance, is not many bad things happen all over the world that Nigerians are not aware of. And if you are allowed to be aware of them, we will know that even those places that we call saner countries or very sane countries are only a bit saner than us because of the system that they already have. It is not that there are no accidents going on there. It is not that there are no oppressions going on there. It is not that they are not stealing there. So Nigeria is not the only country in the world that has leaders who are corrupt. Nigeria is not only the country in the world that has people who are bad. So rather than insulting this nation, let us begin to pick on those persons with evidence, so that it does not turn to be fake news. With evidence. Let us begin to mention their names. If so is a thief, let us say this person is a thief because of this and this reason.
Thank you so much, Comrade Kenny. One can always be sure that you're always firing on all cylinders. And thank you for your view on this. I'm very happy that we're throwing up different viewpoints on this. This is what we're doing. This is what we do essentially implied. We try to throw the issues up, try to analyze them, and we leave the public to make your own conclusions. We try not to, issues that, but basically we want to bring out all the key elements for you to know. Thank you so much. Comrade Ekujumi, I know, when you just left now, I was like, could this be sabotage today? All of a sudden, on previous occasions, it's always been perfect connection with you. And today, on the previous occasion, I don't know what is happening, but for sure, sir, at your convenience, I want to bring you back to actually have a more proper look at this topic, So, but now that you're back, let us leave you to just fire on. Comrade Ekujumi, over to you, sir. Over to you, sir. Comrade, just unmute yourself and let's have you. Comrade Ekujumi.
Let me move myself. I didn't want to join. It's just one of those days. But be that as it may, I'm very happy we've had from two distinguished panelists on this program today. The last week, maybe if I get that correctly, we are working very well.
Okay, it's you hear people when they're praying again. You hear things like God punish Satan. When you start saying things like this, you know what? It just keeps going on, and it looks like that the network today is just. And of course, was it last week or the week before we did hear of the case where MTN actually lost, for I think a whole day or thereabout. People on MTN could not connect. Comrade Ekujumi is back again. Over to you again, sir. So immediately you come in, just go on again, sir.
Okay, yes. Thank you very much once again. Like the last two speakers have spoken, that's Comrade Ayodele Amin and the other person. They are speaking very well. They have analyzed the issues. Really, the problem in Nigeria today is that some persons, I must say it emphatically, some persons, because of political and economic displacement, are hell-bent on throwing the country into chaos. And unfortunately, some persons also at the helm of affairs in a bid to address this lacuna that they have taken upon themselves, have also adopted a desperate measure. And I think that is what propelled the new social media bill. You and I also, like Amin rightly said, even in the conventional media, the level of illiteracy, if I put it that way, is very, very appalling. I'll give you a vivid example. There was a time the secretary of the Presidential Committee on COVID-19 said President Buhari was going to address the Nigerian people on XY dates. And the media was agog when the date came and President Muhammadu Buhari did not address. And I was like, how can people who are trained in the art of journalism expect the spokesperson of a presidential committee to assume the role of the spokesperson of Mr. President? I said, has it ever happened that Mr. President addressed the Nigerian people without his spokesperson giving a prior notice? Has the information ever come from another source other than the spokesperson that he has appointed? And I was like, what is wrong with us? Why can't we verify information? Why do we run with lies, falsehood, and what is not? So, like Amina said, I quarrel with some aspects of the new social media bill. For example, it talks about comments prejudicial to national security. For me, that section, who determines it? Should it be the initiator of the bill, or that should be a responsibility for the courts? Because like you and I know, it is against the tenets of justice for somebody to be the accuser, the judge, and the jury. And that is what that part of the bill, for me, that is my understanding of that bill. And I believe that that is one area among several others that we can, continue the debate on and ensure that it is reworked. But the truth of the matter is that as we are presently in this country, we need a means of regulation for our social media, because the social media has become a license for incitement, a license for divisiveness of the Nigerian people. And it's unfortunate that it is the ordinary man on the street, when the chips are down, they are the ones that will bear the brunt. A lot of the protagonists of this, acts of misinformation, acts of mischief, when the chips are down, they know the roots. But the ordinary man on the streets, when crisis builds, is the first casualty, because it's the one who does not have any personal security. It's the one that, at the tip of the button, it could be consumed. And that is why I agree with Amin, what he said, that there's a need to use, technology to address some of this, mischief. And like he exactly said, when you talk about educated people, a lot of Nigerians, I said with all sense of responsibility, we are just educated, we are not enlightened. Can you imagine a university don calling me and saying, Comrade Nelson, you are more versed in public issues? Is it true that the man in Aso Rock is not President Muhammadu Buhari that we voted for? And I was aghast that in this age and time, so you have also fallen for this. He said they said it and he believes it. And just like you rightly said, a bishop went to the pulpit that is a sacred place, for only one message, and that message is about evangelism. He strayed away from evangelism, from saving of souls. He took the satire by Professor Latunji Dare and he made it a sermon on the day of sermonization. That, it tells you clearly. And this is a bishop that was a one-time university don. That tells you clearly that the level of education that some of our people have is questionable, if that is the way they reason. Some of us, because of the education we had, I was educated in this country. And my education tells me clearly that I should subject every information to thorough analysis. But a lot of our people, maybe because of personal interest, maybe because of political dispositions, once you bring a story that aligns with their reasoning, they don't want to verify it. They run with it. They continue, even when a rejoinder is brought back. Just yesterday, for example, there was this information on the social media that the king of Ishekiri, the owner of Ishekiri, that he has promised to spend 4 billion naira to rehabilitate a road linking his part of the country with the southwest. And I was like, a king getting or having 4 billion naira. And I was asking people around, is it true? And not quite too long. The rejoinder came that the king never at any moment said he was going to spend 4 billion. That information was total falsehood. But I can tell you, we are speaking today. This was an information that was out there yesterday or day before yesterday. I can tell you for free. In the days to come, even after a rejoinder, has been put in the public domain, they will continue to run it. That, oh, the government has failed. A king had to come to the rescue that he was going to. Even when the king has come out and said, no, I never said anything of sort. And even people who have a doctorate degree, they are also in this school of thought. So, like I said earlier on, and in line with Amin and the other scholar, the other speaker, the truth of the matter is that every right, the right to free speech, must come with responsibility. People must not be allowed to make speeches that will, have negative consequences. If you make a speech and the consequences are in the negative to the society, there should be penalties for such persons. They should be identified. But because under the social media, people are under several identities. And like Amina also rightly said, even if this bill becomes a law, is it implementable? If somebody, say, in Ghana or maybe in Togo, publishes a false information, how do we get such persons prosecuted under a law that is domiciled in Nigeria, that we know the jurisdiction of that law cannot extend beyond the borders of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? Are we going to sign treaties with every country that, look, once we are found anybody culpable for this offense, you are going to extradite him or her to us? I don't think that will be an easy job to do. And again, you look at the security agencies that will be saddled with this responsibility. They already have a lot on their table. Saddling them with this extra job, I think will not be doing justice to getting optimal efficiency from them. I think this social media menace, like Amin rightly said, which I align with, can be better tackled with technology, can be better tackled with government machinery, rising up to the occasion, to curtail this menace that the social media has become. And again, we must get it very clear. It's not only the social media that has turned, that is trying to turn our world upside down. Even the conventional media. You wake up in the morning, you read some stories in the dailies, and when you investigate these reports or information, you discover that they were lifted from the social media without any check. For example, I've been an observer at the Lagos.
Okay, that's just gone off again. And just at the time when our Comrade Ekujumi was beginning to bring us to speed about, and of course, just to clarify, this is quite different from the 8th speech bill. I've seen there's that question somewhere now. That is quite different. The Protection from Internet Falsehoods and Manipulations and Other Related Matters Bill 2019 is actually what it was sponsored on the floor of the National Assembly by Senator Muhammad Sani Musa of Niger State East Senatorial District, and of course there are other senators that back it. So now, okay, Comrade Ekujumi is back. So just go on, sir.
Yes, like I said earlier on, I'm an observer at the Lagos State Judicial Panel in the last almost a year now. Unfortunately for us, every time at that panel that you bring in an expert to come and give an opinion to educate the panel and everybody present on the technical aspects of an incident, the moment the person finishes his testimony, even before finishing his testimony, some media outlets will go around and publish the exact opposite of what the man or woman has said. And repeatedly, the panel will come back and warn that, no, this was not what this person said. We were all here. In fact, you read some stories in some online blog, and you are like, I was there. Or was it in another panel that this information came out? So it is that bad. And like I said, every right, no right is absolute in any society. Rights come with responsibilities. And part of those responsibilities is that you'll be held liable if your rights infringe on another person's right. I can't say because I have a right, to move from here now to, say, Lagos Island, that in moving on the road, I will open down the 4 doors of my car. Because the road definitely does not belong to only me. It's for every road user. So what I'm saying in essence is that the new social media bill, as much as we need it, I think the present one that we have on ground is one that should continue to generate debate. We should continue to point out those areas that we know are not germane to modern realities. Those areas that we allow for authoritarianism, like Amin rightly said, and like I also pointed out that aspect of the bill that makes the executive, the accuser, the judge, and the jury. It will not be enough for you to have a bill becomes a law that says the X has become a criminal offense. The interpretation of the criminality of some rights has been interpreted by the court of law. So I want to align with that school of thought. I'm talking about there being 2 bills. What is happening with regards to the bill, and also the hate speech bill, is reminiscent of what we went through under the Petroleum Industry Bill before it became a Petroleum Industry Act just this year. You recollect that when the bill came into the National Assembly, we had several versions that we couldn't know, or we didn't know which one was the original one that we are really dealing with until the passage some few weeks back and the ascension and the assenting into office into law by Mr. President. So be that as it may, as much as I want to hold the social media responsible, I think it is important for the government to also recognize that she has the responsibility to continue to educate, to sensitize and inform the citizens on the dangers of some of their actions, because some persons post this information out of, how will I put it now? Is it out of idleness? I'll give you an example. A cousin of mine, there was a video of people running from a position, and a man was shouting, "Oh, it is this ex-tribal, they are killing people. Yay, they have killed 20. She now sent it to my wife. My wife now forwarded it to me. The first question I asked my wife was that, this video, where, when, who is the author?
Wow. Now, we've lost him again, but I mean, obviously, we already know this is going to happen a few more times. Wherever he is, the network is as unsteady as possible. Now, I'm having all the hands really flying up. And all of you that raise your hands, I can assure you we're going to give you time tonight. There's no way we're not going to be bringing Comrade Ekujumi back. Hopefully, whether we can squeeze him in there, but we already have a mean for next. Comrade, I mean, by the way, we're changing the topic. We need to speak on the Pandora Papers, you know. So, Comrade, I mean, when you come in the next 2 weeks, that is what will be. Okay, Comrade Ekujumi is back. So, I can, those of you raising your hands, don't worry. Definitely, we're going to recognize you at some point so that you can put your questions and comments to our guest speaker. So, Comrade Ekujumi, you just fire on, please, sir.
Yeah, so my cousin sent this video of an alleged killings to my wife. And when my wife showed it to me, and I asked my wife, this video she has sent to you, does she know where it originated from, when, where, and time? And my wife said she doesn't know. So I now had to call my cousin. I said, this video you have sent of this alleged killing, can you please authenticate the source? She said she doesn't know, that somebody just sent it to her. I said, you see, this is how you cause trouble for the society. How can somebody just send you a video of which you don't know the source and you're already spreading it, that a certain tribe is killing other ethnic nationalities in Nigeria? That's like some of the messages you receive at times on your phone. Oh, that somebody will send you a message and say, send this, somebody will send this message to 10 persons, immediately received a miracle and was given 10 million naira. And I'm like, is that how easy it is to get 10 million naira? Immediately I receive such messages, I delete. I don't forward it to anybody. I said, I have serious things to do. So by and large, I agree totally that we need a media bill to regulate activities of the social media, because the negativity that the social media is promoting in our society has become a monster. And there's a need for us all to put on a thinking cap that how can we rejuvenate the social media that will become the purpose for which it was created for, and not what it has become today, that it has become an instrument for incitement, it has become an instrument for divisiveness, it has become an instrument of, brewing bad blood between brothers and sisters who have no cause, to hate one another. So I want to hold on for that and expect that we'll take the questions like you have rightly mentioned just now.
Thank you so much, Comrade. It's been as much as the network disruption has been very vicious, so to say. It's been such a fantastic. I love the way you've broken down this, and because this actually affects each and every one of us, every Nigerian, and it is something we should be discussing. To balance it, and I like the way the balance is coming left, right, and center in terms of, okay, government must not do this, but citizens as well, and at times when you go on social media, when you go on Twitter, and you even try to, people post certain things, and you go there and you actually tell them the correct and say, no, that is wrong. This. In fact, they don't want to, you just see the way it is. This is all about, of course, not for everybody. There's some that, for whom it is all about trending. It is their own way of out of the poverty trap. If you can trend, if you can become an influencer, have as many followers as possible, then it becomes possible for you to be able to put a little more money in your pocket, so to say. Of course, there are genuine people on Twitter. There are a lot of people who actually are so concerned about the pace of our country, because the fact of it is, as a person, I know in the last few days, in the last 3 weeks or there, about 1 month, the number of Nigerians that I know who have emigrated to Canada and UK is mind-boggling. It's like, it's as if there's a bus every minute just carrying people. Of course, that's assuming that it is traveling by bus. So I'm going to go to Comrade. Okay, I'm going to go. I'm going to go to Comrade. I know Comrade Amin is raising his hand, but I'm going to go to Comrade Olayiwola Abiola first, so that, because I want Amin to also be able to build on that, and then we'll go to Comrade Bashir Amin. So, Comrade Cornerstone, over to you. Cornerstone, if you just want to unmute yourself and let's hear from you.
Yeah, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Am I audible? Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Firstly, I want to use this medium to still congratulate the convener. I was not able to talk last week because of time. Happy birthday. And it's nice sharing the same month with you, with a great mind like you and a great mind. It's really, really a privilege.
Thank you so much.
God will preserve your life for us, and by the grace of God, all your dream for this country will come to reality by the service of God in Jesus' name. You are indeed a father for Kenny to be calling you father, because our leader is Solafayemi, and the leader of Solafayemi is Oban, and the leader of Oban is you. So you are a father of father. So it's right for him to be saying father. So thank you, sir. Now to the topic of the day. I think everybody has spoken very well, and I don't want this as just a suggestion. I don't want this to come as a regular this thing, because this is a national issue as that is going on presently. So we should make our voice to be heard on this. And what am I saying is like everybody are pointing towards the same direction, which is one, it's good for them to regulate. Secondly, in the regulation, they also have to consider the freedom of speech, and also to make sure that they not just make a law, but to make the law enforceable, and to also use technology. So we should make a position paper out of this as plight, that in as much this program, this social media is this and this, that we should dissect all the points that has been raised this evening and dissect and fashion a way forward according to all that all views have also raised this evening, which I think is very good, because if we are not considering regulating the social media, we are sitting on a keg of gunpowder, so, and which can be exploded at any time. Some people, because of the economic situation, they are just desperate to make money. These days now, the number of likes you have on Facebook is money. The number of likes or view you have on YouTube, Instagram is money. So people are there not because the sake of patriotism or say they want to dish information, but because they want traffic. And you think they are doing a favor, but they are using it to make money. So sudden billionaire leader Ekejì, and many more of them, they are making trillions money to banks, and they are making us to face one another, to start fighting one another on information that are not verified, that are not substantive, that are causing more damage to society than good. Like the way my brother have spoken the other time, Nigeria, we are not the worst country in the world. Certainly, we have our issues. Certainly, we have our problems. Certainly, we are angry with the country and situation of things, but not to the extent of putting fire in our roof. No, that cannot happen, because we don't have any other country. Even if we still travel out, we know that the blood and water of Nigerians still flow in us. So we don't have any other country aside from Nigeria for now. So I think something good should come out of this discussion this evening. It should not just be a regular discussion and let's go and go to another topic. Let's make a position paper out of this. I enjoyed the night, and I thank Mr. Ekujumi, thank everybody that has spoken this Gensec, what's it called, Okunuga, and every other person. We thank you. Have a nice conversation ahead.
Thank you so much, Comrade Cornerstone, and and those warm words are very much appreciated. By the grace of God, we will not disappoint one another. I do not take them for granted. They mean a lot to me. Now you've raised very salient points there. In fact, I like the way you distilled it. You went into the fact of, quite a lot of times it's about for quite a lot of people, it's about, making money. It's about being able to earn a living. For every like, and you use the phrase, the right technological phrase, generating traffic. It is about generating traffic. And the more controversial you can be at times, the easier it is the easier is it for you to become, quote and unquote, a known influencer. And then it doesn't matter. And I've seen cases where, of course, we did read, was it last year or there, about where that young man actually tweeted a video that, some pictures that were really frightening. They were so, you had to be angry as a Nigerian. Really? I think he said that was it Edo State or something, or River State's office of EFCC, showing an open space with people without shirts, without being detained, cluster like fish inside the sardine tin and all those things. Nigerians were justifiably angry. And it turned out that it was fake news. And of course, the next thing, the EFCC and the police, they got him arrested, they locked him up, and, it took a while for him to apologize. You would have, but people had already retweeted this. But of course, to balance it on the other side is the fact that when we talk about government in Nigeria, we keep talking about federal government, but there are other strata, other levels of government. For example, you would have seen the spat between Femi Fani-Kayode, Chief Femi Fani-Kayode, and the governor of Rivers State. The videos have been very, they're not funny. You see, these two grown men, who really, you can tell that I'm not really sure that Nigeria is a priority for them. Now, you saw Femi Fani-Kayode coming out to actually say, you know what? If Nigeria dares elect someone like Comrade Governor Nyesom Wike as governor, that he will be a brutal dictator. Now, let's imagine that someone like that is actually elected. Now, we don't know whether he'll be a brutal dictator or not. We're just quoting Chief Femi Fani-Kayode. Now, assume that he becomes the president. He becomes president of Nigeria. What is the power that this media bill will be? What power, what weapon would it be in the hand of a dictator as a president, for example, or a governor? Because there's some governors that are brutal. They criticize the guy at the center. Whether the guy at the center is good or bad is not what we're talking about there. But some of them are exceedingly brutal in their states. They do not brook any resistance at all, so this can be a dangerous weapon. But at the same time, we also know that the new media itself has become a dangerous weapon in the hands of unscrupulous, never do well individuals, so these are some of the dynamics, looking at it from both sides, and of course, someone that mentioned Chief Lai Mohammed, what? At the end of the day, Nigerians have different opinions about him, but these are the issues. So I'm going to go to Comrade Amin. Oh, and fortunately for us, Comrade Nelson Ekujumi is back as well. But let's go to Comrade Amin. Amin, over to you. You've been raising your hand for quite a while. If you just want to unmute and let's hear from you.
Okay, thank you very much, Tunde. I just want to mention 3 things. Now, we should be concerned about the social media. But like my comrade said, Nelson, we should be more concerned about the conventional media. Because the only impact of social media that we have seen that have a lot of repercussion and consequences, the EndSARS campaign. Okay? Now, the conventional media have more people reading them than even people on social media. And I don't know whether a lot of people knows this, that the media on its own, the conventional media, has been commercialized. And I will put this as an allegation at this stage, that there are a lot of media people or experts or what have you that receive royalty from politicians and public officers. And the purpose of those royalty is to kill any story about them. And you have this going on. And when you have all this, even if you go to National Assembly, how many special assistants on the media do you have? Their role is not just to write media reports or speeches, is to make sure that they keep the media in check in terms of any story that affects their principle. That is commercialization of the media. On the other hand, you will notice that our media at times are not responsible when it comes to the issue of security. I remember that during the Iraq war, we are all watching CNN. As the following understanding, we have information that they are going to attack that night, but we cannot release it. You open Nigerian newspaper, you see the army on their way to something local government to attack Boko Haram. Will Boko Haram wait for them? You open your newspaper, front page, 27 soldiers killed by Boko Haram. Now, when the army killed 150 bandits, it will struggle to find its way to page 14 or 15 of the same newspaper. So these are issues, and they are very important issues. I remember that sometimes we are running a campaign on Charles Taylor when Charles Taylor was given an asylum in Nigeria. And because Obasanjo was very stubborn, so we had to go for his jugular. Because Charles Taylor was on the Interpol list, we printed out the Interpol wanted posters and pasted it in Maryland. And on the way to Abuja, our printer was arrested. Chidi Odekanu was declared wanted by the military intelligence and the DSS. It becomes a national security issue. And when we now have a discussion with the military guys, they now explain why. Because we didn't look at it from that way. We just want to show Obasanjo to say, you cannot be harboring the fugitives. It's totally not right. But they said, look, Charles Taylor killed a lot of Nigerian soldiers in Liberia. By putting out this poster, you are telling the soldiers that their government is harboring their killers. That indirectly we are creating mutiny within the barracks, which could possibly lead to coup or what have you. But we as activists, we didn't actually look at it from those security aspects. We have to smuggle Chidi out of Nigeria to avoid arrest at that particular point in time. But so, in terms of responsibility, the media, the conventional media and the social media needs to be responsible, needs to think about what is the implication of these stories on people's lives. If anybody go to Sahara Reporter now, you will see where they said Nigerian Air Force paid bandit 20 million naira ransom to stop them from using an anti-aircraft gun. Now, even without waiting for the Air Force to deny it, let's just think logically. The military are short fund. They work with the budget. They don't have budget for ransom. They don't have budget for ransom. So where would they get the 20 million to pay bandit? That's number one.
Is it 20 million or 20 billion?
20 million naira.
Okay.
So number two, the bandit knows they have a weapon to stop the Air Force from killing them. So you think the bandits will give their weapon back to the Air Force and allow the Air Force to fly the plane and kill them because of 20 million? It totally does not make any sense. And Sarah Potter carried this because it came from one guy on Wall Street. So some of these things have a lot of security implications. And the responsibility is on all of us to make sure that we debunk some of these stories when they appear. Because at the end of the day, like Nelson said, like other speakers have said, you cannot have a blanket, a kind of a free heaven for you to say anything you like. You must just say the right thing. And I do agree that a lot of people look for traffic. But if you look at people with a lot of followers, they are not people that share fake news. These are celebrities. If you look at Nigeria with the biggest number of followers, you talk of Davido, you talk of Wizkid, they don't carry fake news. They don't have anything to do with those news. You talk of Omotola, you talk of all these people. You know, so how many followers carrying fake news really give you? So it is very important that we, and I think the challenge also go to Pride, to be able to carry out a campaign in terms of making us responsible on the social media. But also to engage with government to say there are technology out there that you can use to checkmate fake news. And I think that is a challenge that I think Pride should also take up. I will stop there for now.
Thank you so much, Comrade Bashir Amin. He's the head of the URIDAC team, and as well an alumnus of the former senior officer of Amnesty International. It's a pleasure having you in our midst, Amin. And Amin is one of the authorities when you talk about elections in West Africa, the practice of democracy. Thank you so much. I mean, we'll still come back to you. I can see Kenny Okunuga's hand up, and I'm just going to take you as the last point before we go back to Comrade Ekujumi. There'll still be opportunities for questions, but Comrade Kenny, over to you.
Yes, just within 30 minutes to add what I had said before. The media should be a platform. It should be a space to dissect government policies. It should be a space to ask questions from government. It should not be misinterpreted or mistranslated to being a platform that we can always use to play to the gallery. When you look at some of these celebrities, the video and co, they have huge people following them. But there is one thing that I've studied about them. All of them, at every point in time, whenever we have issues that directly concern the soul of our country, majority of them, if not all, always try as much as they can to play to the gallery. It is very difficult today for a truth sayer to go on Facebook and consistently, every day, consistently say the good things about this country. You see many people who come on that thread to abuse the person or to start throwing stones at the person. So the media has been manipulated. Then I look at the way people are being recruited into the mainstream media too. There should be yardsticks. We should stop recruiting people into the mainstream media or even the new media blogs because they can speak grammar or because they can write. We should start recruiting people who have the genuine interest in what this thing is. We can expose government. We can tell the world. We can tell Nigerians. We can ask questions. Where are our constituency projects? We can ask questions. How are this budget? How is the budget allocated to education spent? How did we exhaust the money that was accrued to fund education, to fund security, to fund health? We can begin to ask questions. But it should not be, I continue to say, it should not be Nigeria is a scam. It should not be, it should go beyond. When you look at the young people on the internet, I am also in that generation. Young people on the internet today will just wake, and just throw stones on the internet. This thing is not affecting any child of Buhari. It is not affecting Buhari. It will not affect how they fire me. It will not affect Tinubu because they are made. And if they die today, and Jesus has not come, apologies to the Muslims. Their children have something to lay. But some of us who are not from that background, I am so concerned about some of us who are not from that background. I'm so concerned about the children of some of us who are struggling, who are striving to make ends meet. And that in another 10, 15, 20 years, if we continue to allow this kind of nonsense that people throw up on the internet, no country, they are still accepting us now. In another 10, 15 years, all these countries, they may decide not to even be accepting us again. They may decide. Nigeria is straight in terms of tyranny, terrorism. Nigeria now ranks, very close to Iran. We are now number 2 or 3 on the table, the world index. So it is sad. Rather than saying that Boko Haram, like my brother said at that time, rather than say that Boko Haram has killed 500 soldiers, why not? Is it that our soldiers are not making any progress? Is it that we have not recorded many years ago, about 5-6 years ago, before 2015, there used to be throwings of bombs in Abuja. But since this government has begun, I have not read anywhere, I may have forgotten anyway, that somebody threw bomb in Abuja. I could remember some years back, 5-6 years ago, every October 1st, there must be a bomb blast in Abuja. But since this government has started, we have not seen that, we have not had that. So that means there is a progress. There is a progress in terms of, but, that we have not had it through entirely does not mean that there is no progress that this government or that Nigeria is recording, in terms of security and in terms of some of the things that were our concerns in the past. I don't want to appear like trying to speak for the Buhari government, because it is a sin in Nigeria. It is a sin, but that is the truth.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Comrade Gandhi. I always love that your name, Comrade Gandhi. That's really beautiful, and I love the perspective you brought to it, and the beauty of it. Even those watching us at home, even the most ardent critics would have no choice but to actually concede that we've actually been very dispassionate in considering this issue. We've actually looked at it from every angle possible. And so I'm going to go back to our guest speaker for today again now. Comrade, we're going to go back to Comrade Ekujumi. Today, in fact, the questions, the comment section has been so much bombarded. I know I did, Ms. Adepoju, I know at the point you wanted to ask a question. Then let me allow you to actually ask your question. Ms. Adepoju, if you want to ask your question, you just unmute and just go on or make your comments, so that I don't leave you out. I know I did mention it. I'm so sorry. Ms. Adepoju. Okay, so just you're unmuted now. So if you just want to fire on.
So I don't have questions. I don't have questions.
Okay, I thought you had a comment previously, so that was why we're so. Okay, so we're going to go back to Comrade. Comrade, are you ready for us? So we're going to go to Comrade now. So Comrade...
I'm ready for you.
Oh, okay. Over to you, sir.
Yes, I've listened to the last two speakers again, or three, sorry, Gandhi, Amin, and Okulaja. Well, they are spoken very well. I've had to change my system because I've been using my iPad and I can see that I've been having problems connecting severally. So now I'm using my phone. The truth of the matter is that hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. I think maybe your TV or something. We can hear you just... Just bear with us. I think Comrade is trying to turn off the source of that. Okay, so
yes,
it's fine now, sir. Yeah, go on, sir.
I've done that. I'm sorry.
No worries, sir. Thank you, sir.
Hello?
Go on, sir. Fire on.
Hello?
Sir. Hello, we can hear you.
The truth of the matter is that the issue we are discussing today, whether we want to admit it or not, there's the imperative need for the media to be controlled. And that is why, as we speak, even practitioners in the conventional media are also aghast at what is happening in the conventional media. I'm somebody who is very much in tune with the operations in the conventional media, that you know that the standards, the quality has fallen drastically. And for a lot of us, we are worried because you expect that when you take up a newspaper or you are watching a television station, whatever comes from that medium should be the fact, devoid of any bias. Whether you like it or not, it should be the truth. There are basic principles for information, publishing, or airing on media. And a lot of times what comes out from those outlets run contrary to the basic norm. And a lot of them are worried that they are saying it within themselves, that if we refuse, I'm talking about the conventional media now, some of the practitioners are saying that if we refuse to do a media control ourselves, then we'll be forced to invite people from outside who will place, a control for us, and which is not the best. Because you read the information in the newspapers, and the following day, the person that was alleged to have made that information will come out and said, I never granted this interview. There was a day, a leading newspaper in Nigeria published an interview with Baba Yokpadoku. It was the Nigerian Tribune. That was some 2-3 years back. Published an interview allegedly with Baba Yokpadoku. And when I read the interview, a lot of people who knew I was close to the old man now called me that these things that they said in the interview, can Baba be saying this type of messages? And even when I read it, I was like, this is not in tune with Baba. And I called Baba. Baba told me that he has been far away from Lagos in the last 3 weeks, that where and when was he interviewed. Fortunately enough, the editor of the newspaper, they had to fire the young man who claimed to have done the interview, which is to tell you clearly that the control mechanism even in the conventional media has also failed abysmally. Because you expect that when a reporter comes to the newsroom and tells the editor, oh, I spoke to Baba, this is the interview. Baba, you expect that the editor should ask for the tape, should try and get back to confirm. But, because it suits their whatever leaning they have, they run with it. But at times, public outcry makes them to do a turnaround. But what we are saying is that in most cases, it's done. The damage could be colossal to all of us. And that is why we are saying that there's need, like one of our speakers already said, there's need for us to put in place a control mechanism so as to measure the quality of persons that go into the media. People that, are claiming to be the spokesperson or who become the voice of the people. A lot of times when you see some of the reportage, definitely this is not true. Look at the instance Amin gave, where people said, where a Sahara reporters or one newspaper said, one tabloid said the Nigerian Air Force was going to give X amount of money to Boko Haram, commonsensically. But because they are bent on a particular mission, they are running with it. The government is not doing anything. Now, the day the government wakes up and takes the law against them, it becomes oppression of the press. And that is why, like we are saying here, there's a need for us to put in place measures to control the monster that the social media has become. There's also the need for us to put in place measures to control the menace that the conventional media has also been. You listen to some analysts, you listen to some presenters on radio, on TV, telling bare-faced lies, giving information that is never happened. And you expect that before a media person will come on air, he must have gone through some processes before any information. And the danger is that the day Nigerians lose confidence in the media, the day the Nigerian people no longer trust the media as a means of getting informed, as a means of becoming educated, then that day, I think that is the day that, we'll know that Nigeria has finally, gone to the dogs. But I hope and I believe that there are persons, there are institutions who are out there working frantically to ensure that things do not continue on this path, that the media should assume the role it is reputed for, which is impartiality, objectivity, the truth, and fairness. That is the only way a society can prosper. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, sir. That was actually very deep, and it went straight into the heart of the matter. And I love, sir, the fact that you gave examples of these very terrible practices here and there. You know, that example you gave about that press house is really, really as embarrassing as it gets, you know, that someone can actually just falsify the old idea of having an interview with an elder statesman. You know, it is shocking, but it is not. And this is why when you see even organizations that invite the press to cover that, the first thing is, you know, what is going to be given to the journalists that come to cover, you know. So that is what it is. It is no longer about news gathering. It is actually about the commercial aspect of it. And that is what has opened it up to quite a lot of all these very terrible practices. And I'm going to call one of our members in house, Miss Adeola Adegoke. I know you work in a press house. You are a journalist at a TV station. How do you view this bill in the context of what you do for a living? Do you view it as potential repression and a danger to what you do to your profession? Or do you also agree, you know, that, you know, there's a need for regulation, like what others have said today? Adeola Adegoke, let's hear from you. Hello. Okay, the mic is unmuted, but we're not getting any sound from that background. Hello. Okay, I think it's okay now. Adeola, Miss Adegoke, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, fantastic. Let's hear from you.
Okay, I actually joined in late, so I really don't understand the context. But based on the question you asked, well, I would say that I think it's a 50-50 thing. I believe that some media platforms have they are not holding to the true essence of what the media should be, which is why we are talking about regulating media today. I mean, in a sane world, media should not be regulated, because if you regulate media, in a way you gag media. And because media is supposed to be the false realm of the estate, and that's supposed to be where the masses can voice their opinion without fear of being suppressed. But because of what is happening now, fake news, propagandas and all of that, that is why we will say that media should be controlled. And of course, also because these days, most especially in Nigeria, we now have a lot of private media houses, and it is difficult for you to remain neutral if the owner of the media house has an agenda. Like you cannot be a journalist and say that, oh, okay, let's say, now let me use TVC as an example. Tinubu owns TVC. So let's say today Tinubu says he wants to become the president. We will expect the normal thing that will happen is that TVC begins to run the agenda of Tinubu and his political parties. Even though, as a journalist, you know that you're supposed to be neutral, unbiased, but in a way, because Tinubu pays your salary, you cannot decide. And then because the pay is poor, I think the last speaker was talking about, or maybe it was the convener talking about brown envelope journalism. Now, the reason journalists would fight at events to collect money is because most of these journalists are not paid. I mean, some media houses will tell you your ID card as a journalist should earn you your salary.
Wow. The media houses tell their own journalists that.
Yes,
wow.
Yes. In fact, there are popular media houses in Nigeria where they don't get paid their salaries. You have to also your salary. So that's why people will go to National Assembly, House of Assemblies, and then beg the honorables to pay for a story. And recently, I think there was a press conference in Ekiti State, and then there was a news came out. One of these, I think it was Daily Post. Yes, Daily Post gave a news and said Fayemi said something about core members. That core members should fight. Fight Boko Haram, or should be enlisted into the army or something. And then the state had to issue a rejoinder saying that statement did not even come up in the press briefing. And other media houses didn't have that same report. But a particular journalist needed clickbait. He needed to pull traffic to his content and decided to put that out. Now, there are a lot of stories that go out like that without, maybe the damage is not so much that people decide to respond and will let it go. And then these days, you see, everyone comes up and say, I'm a journalist. And if you're not careful, you might even end up clicking links and then referring people to links. Sometimes you see posts, and because of the state of insecurity, the tension is that everybody's emotional. So once we see a news that fits our own agenda without verifying, we put it out there. And that's because somebody says I'm a journalist and puts it out there. So I feel it should be regulated, but the fear I have is because of the kind of country we are in. I cannot trust this present government to be fair in regulating media, and that's because the government has not actually been fair to media. I mean, we see the issues between the Minister of Information, the journalists, even before now. Remember the issue that happened with the Channels TV presenters. And there are some journalists have disappeared, nowhere to be found today, just because they were trying to do their job. Some have been detained, some arrested, some killed because of doing their duty. That's why journalists like myself would not agree that this government be the ones to regulate media, because the government has not proven itself to have the moral justification to regulate the media.
Wow, thank you. You know what? Look, I mean, that was, I don't know what I would have done to myself if I heard this from you later and not during this. If we all heard this from you later and not during this, because you've actually brought some other perspectives into it. You know, you talked about the Ekiti example, the clickbait thing, and of course, it's something one can conceptualize, but to actually air it, that it actually happens truly, it's scary that, you know, you employ a journalist or you employ journalists in your media house, whether TV or radio or print, and you say to them, or maybe it's a press agency, you just say to them, you know what, your journalist badge is your ticket to your salary, to, you know, basically not the company paying it. Go out there, get the news, whatever you need to do, just make sure you earn your salary out there and just get news for us or whatever. That is really, really scary. I'm going to go to Comrade Amin for 2 minutes, and I'm going to go to, and then we'll give our special speaker another 6-7 minutes to just add closing words on this, and then our second will give the final word, just because we're right on time now. But I know Comrade Lukman Ayole, usually you always have something to say during our webinars, but you've been unusually quiet tonight. I hope all is well. But I just think that you probably have nothing, you don't want to contribute anything tonight, but I just recognizing the fact that you're always one of our best contributors. So I'm going to go to you, Comrade Amin, for just about 2 minutes. You've heard some of these very scary things, really, really scary, really, really, they worry me, you know, they're very worrying, and I still can't process it yet. What is your take on this? And then we go straight away. I'm just trying to, Oh, okay, that's fine, Comrade Ayole. I understand that. Thank you so much. And then we'll go straight to Comrade Ekujumi, just straight after you without me intervening. And then the subject give the vote of thanks, and then we close it. Over to you, Comrade Ami.
Okay, thank you, the convener. I'm not sure which part of the information that has been given that is worrisome. In terms of journalists earning their salary, it's really no news.
Wow.
It's something everybody is aware of that. We all know about the story about the dark communication, isn't it? You know, a lot of newspapers don't pay journalists. We know that. So we know all that, and that is why you have this brown envelope, you know. But I must point out that professionalism at times surpassed that. And I can single out Channels TV on that. You know, I can single out, I know I've had an envelope that I've had an event in Abuja that we actually pay transportation to Channels TV correspondent. And they call us later in the evening and say, look, the editor did not accept the story of the event, so they are not going to be putting it up. So they need an account number to send back our transportation. I was in shock. I haven't seen a media house that will call you back and say, okay, take your money back. You know, I haven't. From all my years of experience, I haven't. But also know that some civil society organizations have a media policy. They don't pay media.
Wow.
It's against their policy to pay media. And I remember that when the Secretary General of Amnesty International came to Nigeria many years ago, I was actually with him, the global head, Sani, and we wanted to have an event for the media. And then we were explaining the brown envelope. They didn't get it. So instead of giving them transportation of 10, is it not about 200 naira per person, because we are calling the editor, it's a long time. We decided to host them to a dinner at the Eco Hotel at the rate of about 700 naira per person. They have to sit down and eat because the policy do not allow Amnesty to give them transportation. Because it looks as if you don't have a story, so you are bribing the media to publish what is not newsworthy. It is a big challenge. And we all need, it's a big challenge. We all need, and you know, you need to strike a balance, you know, because at times you have all these people that they are trying to do their job, and their media house are not interested in paying them. Because we are not an advertising kind of a country. It's only when your company is doing well that you will advertise, isn't it? And that is the only source of income for the media. To be able to run adverts and make profit from that. How many people are doing that? How many companies can afford to do that? You know? So, and of course, social media adverts is cheaper. At times, it doesn't even cost any money. So it's a big challenge. So, but by and large, like I said in my initial intervention, the government should do more in telling the people in terms of what they are doing. And then the media can take things up from there. And then we need to make sure that at the end of the day, each Nigerian has a responsibility to ask themselves those important questions. This story that I'm retweeting, this story that I'm sending to another WhatsApp group, is it correct? If I'm not sure, don't do it. Don't spread fake news. I will stop there for now.
Thank you so much. We're going straight to Comrade Ekujumi, but I just, something just caught my eye. Hopefully, it's one of the things when Comrade Ekujumi comes next time, you know. For example, the things that are going on in some of the fiefdoms of some of our governors, I call it fiefdom because some of, you know, today I was just reading this evening about the deputy governor of Oyo State Engineer, Raul Folaniyo, actually petitioning the Inspector General of Police, alleging threat to his life by obviously the so-called auxiliary in Oyo State, and based on his disagreement with the governor of Oyo State, the deputy governor, based on his disagreement with the governor and all those things, some of the things those in power do in Nigeria. But I just said, let me just mention that, but that's talk for another day. Comrade Ekujumi, over to you, sir. You're muted, sir. You're muted, sir. So you need to unmute yourself. Oh, okay. Let me see.
Yes, I have done that. Yes. I've done it.
Yes, sir.
It has been a very, very rich session today.
Yes,
despite the unfriendliness of the internet.
Yes, sir.
But be that as it may, I want to disagree with Ms. Adequoju. She approbated and reprobated at the same time.
Ms. Adequoju,
regulation is not needed for the media. And again, she said it is needed, but she doesn't trust this government to do it. But be that as it may, I think, like I said earlier on, there is need for regulation, or else the media, with the way we are going, if there's any threats to Nigeria's democracy and existence as a people today, the media is one of the... Hello?
Yes, sir. We can hear you, sir. Go on, sir. We can hear you, sir.
If there's one of the dangers to Nigeria's democracy and existence as a corporate entity today, the media is one of the, the potential landmines. Because like we have all spoken about today, the damage that the media is doing to the corporate existence of Nigeria through false information, through mischief, through falsehood. Are very, very enormous. As the people, we need to educate, inform, and enlighten ourselves. Today, we should be responsible to. A lot of times in our conduct as a people, in our conduct as media practitioners, we have turned, to become, agents of divisiveness, agents of spreading hatred among the people, which is not supposed to be so. Mr. Adequoju said some media persons have been arrested. I want the regulation to be such that even in the Nigerian Press Council, I don't know the configuration of that body, the media also should have representation there, so that whenever there's any issue with regards to, because I want to ask myself, with what the media has turned into, I regularly ask myself that what is the role of the Nigerian Press Council? Because I expect that the Nigerian Press Council is supposed to regulate and discipline, erring media outfits. But in the last couple of years, it's like that body does not exist. So, whether we like it or not, the regulation of the media cannot just be waved aside. A lot of times, people want to assume rights, but they don't want to take up the responsibility. If you have a right, it comes with responsibility. And the media must take responsibility for its actions, whether positive or negative. Thank you.
Thank you. So. Oh my God, we're really privileged to have you with us. We are privileged. Mr. Secretary, if you want to do the vote of thanks, and then we close the event for tonight. Can we have our Secretary?
Yes, sir. The convener, sir.
Yeah, go on, sir.
Yes, I'm Comrade Ekujumi and Comrade Amin for that brilliant submission and presentation at today's webinar. Like Comrade conclusively said, well, we cannot say that we should leave our society open to all trashes from the media to whatever they just want to gouge out to the society and mislead the people against the government or against the norm of the society. But however, like many of our comrades also propelled, that whatever we need to do, whatever action that the government wants to take, it must be fair. it must be judged, and it at the same time must not be seen as being sentimental. It must not be perceived as a means of silencing the voice of the masses. And that's the essence of it, because media without a free expression of interest, not saying expression of conflicting interests or fake news, is tantamount to the growth of the democratic ethos of that society. So our government must be firm in addressing this issue, must also put into place the sensitivity of this matter, not only because of the selfish interests of some quarters, but for the general good of our society. So I want to sincerely appreciate the in-house speakers. I want to appreciate our guest speakers, Comrade Ekujumi, once again, for coming on board this evening, and appreciate all the social media audience and people who have consistently been joining us on this platform. We sincerely appreciate you, and we value your continuous tuning to us. Collectively, we know we are going to get Nigeria on the good note of progress. We are going to get Nigeria getting things right and getting things done in our society. I thank everybody once again for joining us. I wish you a very fantastic and a wonderful new week. God bless you all.
Thank you so much, everyone. Comrade Ekujumi, you rock, sir. Thank you so much. We're so proud of you. Thank you for all you're doing for the growth of democracy in Nigeria. God bless you. We appreciate you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. We wish everybody a fantastic week ahead. God bless you. Bye for now.